DX typically requires people, process, and technology. Can you speak to those components? You've already touched on the people, but blending those three things. Maybe you can talk to that a little bit. Sure.
Yeah, I believe you have to have all three legs of the stool, right? If not, you're going to have a wobbly stool, and eventually that thing's going to fall over. I tend to maybe move the terms around a little bit. I like to start with process to understand, what's really the current state and what's really wrong with it and where is it falling down. A lot of the times it's not really a technology issue at all. It's a process issue between stakeholders, or people aren't sharing information or data properly, or they're trying to share it, but it's inefficient or ineffective. And then once we understand that process and can understand where it's broken, then we have an idea of where we could potentially apply technology to help fix it. Most of the time, what we do is we say the process is broken, so let's redefine the process. And what would we want that process to look like? Okay, great. Now, how do the people interact with that? And what are the roles and responsibilities? And how would that change from what they do today? And then we, at least at Lithko, then we layer in the technology piece. Because we certainly wouldn't want to automate an as-is process that's a disaster. All you've done is now you've created just a faster mess from the mess you have, right? So to me, technology is kind of the last leg of that stool that comes along to help automate pieces of that better process that you've already mapped out, you've already thought about, you've already understood how the people align to it. Well, great. Now the technology is just kind of the last component that helps it go faster. I think you make a good point. And it's one of our mantras around here about no shortcuts. And when we talk about no shortcuts, that's about establishing your current state. You really got to take an introspective look at exactly what you have going on right now before you can really make any educated decision about what you want your future state to look like. So I really like what you're saying there. What do you, we're kind of bouncing around the topic here, but key success factors, maybe you can give us some insight. What did it take to pull it off? What were what did you consider key success factors in where you've come from in the last 3 or 4 years? Yeah. Specifically for my team, let's not kid ourselves. We as an IT team are just straight overhead. We add $0 to this business. So what really drives the business, and making sure that myself and the folks on my team have a clear understanding of what really drives this business. And then once you understand that, you can understand how the stakeholders then fit into that and how they support that. And as you spend time with them, as I mentioned earlier, you start to understand what the real problems are. And once you get all those series of real problems, you can get the right folks from other piece of the business, from other function of the business. You can get them around and you can start to have some educated discussions and start to prioritize all these pain points. Coupled with that kind of running in parallel, I think the IT team, the burden falls on us to understand what solutions are in the industry. Some may make sense today, some may make sense 5 years from now, some may never make sense, but you've got to stay abreast of what is out there. So as you're in these conversations and you're hearing pain points and you're prioritizing what makes more sense to tackle first, second, 10th, part of that is, well, this technology could come help. And this technology is a lot easier to implement than that technology or whatever it may be. So it helps drive certain things up the priority scale than others. I think once you've done that and you got your digital transformation initiatives that you're going to execute and they're resourced and they're moving, being super open and transparent with organizations about what the technology can do and what it can't, what the pitfalls are, how long it's really going to take. Here's the real constraints and the risks, I think is key. So I'm not sure a lot of this is technology, right? Yeah. I always go back to this is good basic business project management, change management sense, and it just happens to be about transforming something through technology. Well, they say, technology is the enabler. Yeah. It's an enabler, right? But it's not the straw that stirs the drink necessarily. That's right. I think that's exactly right. And if you have that mindset and you have the mindset of you're probably running a marathon, you're not running a sprint, right? And you can start to pace change into the organization. I think now you've got some of the keys to really pulling it off and making it successful. Mm-hmm.
not to go too much off on the tangent because I want to wrap things up here soon, but you mentioned your workers in the field, the construction guys and gals, and those people have a laptop or some type of media or technology in their hands, and I assume they're accessing some form of business critical application. In your role, I feel like I talk to a lot of IT leaders like yourself, and it seems like every day you're being judged basically on the performance of layer 7, right? The iOS, layer 7 application layer. If those things aren't humming, or as I like to say, dancing, then somebody on your team's probably hearing about it. Is that pretty true?
100%. We've spent a lot of time and effort rolling out analytics and ease of access to data through cloud-based analytics platforms and data marts and all of this stuff. And the beauty of that is we're giving more people in this organization more real-time information than they've ever had to make the best decision that they can possibly make on that day. The downfall of that is it all has to dance perfectly together. All of the information has to be pulled when it's supposed to be pulled, transformed as it's supposed to be transformed, loaded as it's supposed to be loaded, refreshed and populated as it's supposed to be refreshed and populated. So it does really, really put the IT team front and center when you start going down this digital transformation journey. There's nowhere to hide, all right? It's a double-edged sword to some extent. It's exciting and it's a great opportunity for IT to be out front, to be sitting at that board table or at the leadership table, as you mentioned earlier. But it's a big responsibility then when you move out of the shadows of the help desk and into the light of
spotlight
digital transformation. You're right in it then. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Ryan, for joining me today. Please visit comspark.tech for additional interviews. Again, thank you, Ryan. Have a great day, and I look forward to chatting with you down the road.
Yeah, thanks, Lou. I appreciate it. Nice chatting with you.